One of the great challenges of front-end web development is aligning content within a container, especially centering content within a container. Well, I should say it used to be one of the great challenges because we didn't have the right tools for the job, but now we do. Let's say you have a container, like this big gray area here with a defined width and height, and you want to center another element inside that container. The modern and most straightforward way of doing this is to set the parent container to either Flex or Grid, depending on what you want to do next. They actually work very similarly. There are a few differences, so let's look at both and see how it all works. I'll start by setting the demo area to display Flex. Save that, and immediately the container turns into a Flex container and the child turns into a Flex item. And you can see by default, a Flex item will take up its intrinsic width, meaning the width of the content inside the child, and will also take up the full vertical or block space, which is not what we want. So we need to make some changes. Now, if the parent has only one child, as is in the case here, you can use justify content and align items to position that child within the parent container. So here we're using the parent container to control the position of the child item. So I'll say justify content and then set it to center. This is a logical property. And what we're doing now is saying along the inline axis, place whatever child is here in the center, which is why we now have the content in the center. Then we say align items, align items, and set that to center. Save again. And now the item is positioned in the center of the block axis as well. And as a result, we get a perfectly centered item. The key to remember here is justify content works along the inline axis, as in justifying text on a line, and align items works along the block axis. So if we change the writing mode here, these are logical properties and they'll turn along with the writing mode. All right, so I did say that Flex and Grid work the same way here. So let's see if I just change the display of the demo area to Grid and save. Nothing changes. Well, nothing changes because it works exactly the same. But there is still a difference between Flex and Grid. So let me switch it back to Flex and then show you a different approach to this same problem. Right now, we are using demo area to control where the child element should position itself. But in some cases, we want the child element to position itself. In that case, we would take out these two declarations. Then we go into the child item when we say align self and set that to center. Save, and now the item will align itself to the center of its parent container. However, if I now say justify self, center, you'll notice nothing happens. Why is that? Well, it's because we are working with a Flexbox, and we are now trying to position the child item inside the parent container. But Flexbox works from the element out, so it has no control over the display of the parent container. And since it's taking up the intrinsic size as opposed to, this doesn't work. So if you want to center a child item and you want the child item to center itself, you need to change the parent item display from Flex to Grid. Because when we're working with Grid, we are saying this is a layout in format. So we are imposing a layout. And in this case, the layout is a full space that the child item can position itself in. And therefore, we can both justify and align the child item. These new layout modules and logical properties give you complete control over the position of Flex and Grid items within the available space. And combining Flex and Grid level justify content and align items with individual items, so justify self and align self, you can create truly custom layouts without doing anything to your markup.